It's a day that ends in Y, so you know what that means. We have more Anthony Davis smoke about potentially being traded to the Chicago Bulls. Now, the Chicago Bulls do make the most sense out of any other team in the league to trade for Anthony Davis. First, he's from Chicago, so you would imagine he'd be more open to a trade there. You might think to yourself, does it really matter where he wants to go? It does matter where he wants to go. This is not 2K. We're dealing with actual human beings. You do not want to develop a reputation for not respecting your star's wishes, because if you develop that reputation, other players are not going to want to come play for you. They're not going to want to come play for the Dallas Mavericks. On top of that, the Chicago Bulls are currently flailing after starting off the season very hot. If you look here, they started out 5-0 with some very impressive wins over Detroit, Orlando, Atlanta, New York. Very solid teams. They then lose 1, 2, 3, 4, 14. They lose 10 out of their next 14 games after starting out 5-0. So, yeah, they're in an absolute free fall. The biggest reason for this is because their defensive rating is a 117.9, which put them at 22nd in the league. There are only 8 teams that are worse than them defensively. If you go through the schedule here, they are allowing teams like the Utah Jazz to put up 150 on them in double overtime. Yes, even in their wins, Denver 127, you're fine with that. Portland is not a good offensive team, 121. Miami put up 143 on you, bro. 143. The New Orleans Pelicans put up 143 on you, bro. On top of that, you barely beat the Wizards by 1. I can't imagine my favorite team losing to the Wizards or only barely beating the Wizards. You get blown out by the Pelicans, you lose to Charlotte, and then you lose to Indiana. And it makes sense if you just look at a depth chart or watch Chicago Bulls. They do not have a defensive anchor. They may have some players that can hold their ground on isolation, but that is not going to win you playoff series. Speaking of depth charts, if you go to the Dallas Mavericks depth chart and look at their guard depth chart, you may actually laugh. You may actually chuckle because it is pathetic without Kyrie Irving. On top of that, their offensive rating is so far down on StatMuse that I would have to pay for premium just to get to them. They are 30th, and it's not like they're 30th and they're close to 29th or 28th or something like that. They are 30th by a mile, trust me. So, Dallas and Chicago make a lot of sense for a lot of reasons. If you Google Anthony Davis mock trade ideas, one of these two packages here that Jimmy from All Things Mavs has put together is pretty much what you're going to see. You may see a tweak here or there, but for the most part, this is going to be it. As a Mavericks fan, my personal choice is the first one because I'm a huge Kobe White fan and I think he would fit very well on this team. So you give me Kobe White, 2 firsts, and then you can throw in Vooch. And actually, we could use Kevin Herter because our shooting is absolutely atrocious. You give us Vooch too, that we could flip for maybe some other assets. I'm definitely listening. I think Chicago will listen too. Because if you look at the Bulls starting 5, you take Kobe White out of this, put maybe Patrick Williams in, and obviously take Vucevic, and then put Anthony Davis there, you are looking at a top 3 starting 5 in a historically weak Eastern Conference. Because if I'm the Chicago Bulls GM, I'm looking at the top of the East and be like, I'm not scared of any of these teams. And we really need to win a playoff series. When's the last time Chicago Bulls won a playoff series? For the Mavericks, this poor team is trying anything. I might get called to play point guard for them next. They've tried Ryan Nembhard. They've tried D'Angelo Russell. They've tried Brandon Williams. They would try Dante Exum if the man, I don't know if his legs are broke, if they're still there. Has anyone seen Dante Exum? So, will this happen? If you're in the camp of yes, you have a pretty good argument. You could say the Chicago Bulls need more defense. Anthony Davis is an all-world defender. The Mavericks need guard depth. They need to get younger to kind of build around Cooper Flagg. They need assets. So if you're looking at all that, you'll say yes. If you're in the no camp, you have a lot of evidence too. The Bulls are not going to trade Kobe White, a very good young guard, and kind of break up their young core to trade for a player who, yes, is an all-world defender, a top 3 center in the league, all the things, but who is, as evidence shows, is not going to play enough games for you. So, where do I stand? I'm on record in saying I do not think Anthony Davis gets traded this year, and I'm sticking with that, to be honest with you, because these trades are so much fun to talk about. They really are. Trades are just dramatic and fun, and you kind of shake up the league and change the landscape sometimes. I mean, a big trade like this can really change the landscape of the Eastern Conference. And if the Bulls trade for Anthony Davis and he plays games, it is going to be extremely interesting in the East. If the Bulls are in the Eastern Conference Finals, would it be that shocking? Probably not. I mean, at least not to me. It will be very, very interesting to see what happens over the coming weeks and months. Anthony Davis, I've honestly felt bad for him since he's been in Dallas. He did not ask to be traded. He did not trade Luka Doncic, obviously, and he has been treated like he is just so attached to the Luka trade that he's an extension of Nico Harrison, even though he's really not. Yes, he's Nico's guy, but so is PJ Washington, so is Max Christie, so is Daniel Gafford, so is Derek Lively, so is Kyrie Irving. All of those have as much to do with Nico Harrison as Anthony Davis does. Yet he has been treated like he, at gunpoint, forced Luka to LA, which to an extent I get. He's the biggest name in the trade. Anthony Davis and Luka will forever be linked, just like Luka and Trae Young will forever be linked. Anthony Davis deserves better, and honestly, the Mavericks fan base deserves to be able to fully move on from the Luka trade, and that will never happen as long as Anthony Davis is on the team. I do not want Anthony Davis traded right now because I think this team fully realized with Kyrie Irving, Cooper Flagg, Anthony Davis, and the full supporting cast can be a contender. I truly do. But I also see the other side and that we all need to move on. So, what do you think? Let me know in the comments what you think because I'm very interested to see. On Twitter, you get one side of the story and everyone, you don't even know who's being truthful on Twitter or honest or who's just doing it for clicks. But I feel like YouTube comments, you can kind of get a better feel on how everyone's feeling. Bulls fans, do you want Anthony Davis on your team? How do you feel about that? Do you think he would play more games? Mavericks fans, would you be willing to accept the fact that Luka got traded for essentially Max Christie, Kobe White, and what would be three firsts? Three firsts, that makes it a little bit more easier to swallow. But are any of those firsts going to be as good as Luka Doncic? Probably not. You could also say you got Cooper Flagg because Luka got traded, but we won't go there. All right, see y'all in the next one.